At 9:15 on a Tuesday morning, a man calls his bank. He waits on hold for 55 minutes. When a human finally picks up, he explains politely that a $35 overdraft fee hit his account 3 days before payday, and he asks politely if there's anything they can do. The representative reads a script, and the answer is no. The call ends. The man has lost an hour of his life and $35 he did not have. At 9:15 that same Tuesday morning, in a glass office 11 floors above the call center, a banker picks up the phone and dials a client. He is calling to apologize. The client's wire transfer yesterday took 90 minutes longer than promised. The banker has already waived 3 fees the client didn't know he was paying, and before hanging up, he asks if the client and his wife are free for dinner next month, and the bank will cover it. Same bank, same morning, same building. The only difference between these two men is a number in a database, and here's the part nobody says out loud. The $35 they took from the first man is what pays for the second man's dinner. The bank knows exactly what you're worth, to the penny. It has a number on you, a score, a projected lifetime value, and every interaction you will ever have with them, every fee, every phone call, every smile, or lack of one, flows from that number. Tonight I'm going to show you the whole ladder, every level, from below zero to $25 million. What they charge you, what they give you, how they talk to you, and exactly where you stop being the customer and start being the product they fight to keep. Let's start at the bottom, and the bottom is lower than you think. Net worth, less than zero. You have $400 in checking, and rent is due in 9 days. You know the exact balance without looking, the way you always know, the way people with money never have to. On Thursday, you buy gas, a coffee, and groceries, 3 small purchases. Together, they push you $11 past what's in the account. Here's what the bank does with that. You'd assume 1 overdraft, 1 fee. But for years, many banks ran a quiet little trick. Instead of processing your purchases in the order you made them, they reordered them, largest first. The groceries hit first, draining the account, so the gas overdrafts too, and then the coffee. 3 overdrafts instead of 1, $105 in fees on $11 of spending. Banks were sued for this, some paid hundreds of millions in settlements, and the practice got scaled back, but the fee itself survives just fine. $35 each time for the crime of being $11 short. And when you call to ask about it, you get the experience engineered for people at your level. The phone tree, the hold music, your call is important to us. 40 minutes, an hour. Because here's the truth about that call center. The wait time isn't an accident of being busy. Service is a cost, and the bank spends its service budget where the money is. At your level, you get the cheapest version of a human being they can legally provide. It gets better. If your balance stays low, many accounts charge a monthly maintenance fee, $12 a month waived if you keep $1,500 in the account. Sit with that one. It's a fee for not having enough money. The less you have, the more they charge you for having it. And if the overdrafts pile up and you can't climb out, the bank closes your account and reports you to a company most people have never heard of called Check Systems. It's a blacklist for banking, and once you're in it, other banks won't open an account for you either, for up to 5 years. There are people in this country who cannot get a basic checking account anywhere because they went broke once. They end up paying check cashing stores 3% of every paycheck just to touch their own money. At this level, you are not a customer the bank wants. You are a rounding error that occasionally produces fee revenue, and the fees you pay here, yours and millions of others, add up to billions of dollars a year. Remember where that money goes because you'll see it again at the top of the ladder. Net worth, $15,000. You've stabilized. There's a real emergency fund now, a direct deposit that clears every 2 weeks, a balance that doesn't require daily surveillance, the overdraft fees stop, the maintenance fee gets waived automatically, and you have arrived at the broad middle of American banking. And what you get here is something almost stranger than mistreatment. You get nothing. You are invisible. The bank does not call you. The bank does not think about you. You wait in the same line as everyone else. You get the same hold music, just slightly shorter waits. And when you finally reach the teller, the only personal attention you'll ever receive is a script on their screen telling them to offer you a credit card. Because here's what you are at this level. You are quietly profitable in bulk. Every time you swipe your debit card, the bank collects a small fee from the merchant. Your deposits sit in their vault, and they lend them out at interest while paying you nearly nothing. You cost them almost no service. Multiply you by 50 million people, and it's one of the most reliable money machines ever built. You're not a person to them, you're a unit of deposits. Try this experiment if you're at this level. Ask your bank for anything discretionary. Ask them to bump your savings rate. Ask them to waive a wire fee. Watch the teller's face. They don't have the authority, and nobody above them will spend it on you. The rules are the rules for you. Hold that thought, because in about 2 levels, you're going to watch the rules become suggestions. One more thing happens here worth knowing. The bank will approve you now, a car loan, a credit card, eventually a mortgage. Not the best rates, those aren't for you yet, but approvals. This is the level where the bank shifts from charging you fees to charging you interest. Different product, same direction. The money still flows one way. Net worth $250,000. Somewhere in your climb, maybe the business started working. Maybe a decade of investing compounded. An algorithm at the bank flags your account, and a few weeks later you get a phone call, and the phone call is from a human, and the human is friendly, and this has never happened before. His name is Brandon. He's your new dedicated banker, and he'd love to grab coffee. Welcome to the first velvet rope. At most big banks, this tier kicks in somewhere around a couple $100,000 in balances and investments. Chase calls theirs private client, and every bank has a version. And overnight, the entire texture of banking changes. The fees you've paid your whole life simply vanish. Wire transfers, free. Safe deposit box, free. Foreign ATM fees, refunded. There's a special phone number now, and when you call it, a person answers in under 2 minutes. At the branch, you don't stand in the line, there's a different desk, and people glance over and wonder who you are. And Brandon remembers your kids' names. Brandon calls on your birthday. Brandon checks in quarterly just to see how you're doing. Now, here's the part of this level that nobody tells you, and it's the most important sentence in this entire video. Brandon is not on your side. Brandon is a salesperson. The friendly banker at this tier is, at most banks, not what's legally called a fiduciary. A fiduciary is someone required by law to act in your best interest. Brandon has no such requirement. Brandon has sales targets. And when Brandon calls you with an opportunity, a structured product, an annuity, the bank's in-house investment funds, he is often earning a commission on what he sells you, and the products he's excited about are frequently the ones that pay him the most, not the ones that earn you the most. The coffee is free. The advice is not. It's just billed invisibly. One more detail, and it's a beautiful piece of machine logic. That premium status you now enjoy at some banks, if your balance dips below the threshold, a monthly fee appears, $35 or so, until you refill. The perks aren't a gift. They're a leash. They exist to make sure you never move your money somewhere else, because the moment you're tempted to, you'd lose Brandon, the short line, the free wires, the feeling of mattering. The bank has learned that the feeling of mattering is the cheapest retention tool ever invented. Net worth, $2.5 million. Now the building changes. Somewhere past your first couple million in investable assets, you cross into what the industry actually calls private banking, and the retail bank you've known your entire life. The branches, the tellers, even Brandon fades away like a stage set being wheeled off. You get a relationship manager now. Notice the language, not an account manager, a relationship manager. The bank has stopped managing your money and started managing you. Her name is Claire. Claire does not work at a branch. Claire comes to your office. Claire answers her cell phone on the second ring, evenings included. When you bought your last car, Claire had the loan approved before the dealership finished the paperwork, at a rate the dealership couldn't believe. Everything is negotiable now. Remember level 2 when the rules were the rules? At this level, the rules are a starting position. Mortgage rates quietly shaved. Deposit rates quietly raised. Annual fees on the premium cards waived without you asking. You mention offhand that another bank offered you a better rate on something, and Claire says, "Let me see what I can do." And what she can do turns out to be quite a lot. And then there's the product that changes how you think about money entirely. Claire will lend you money against your investment portfolio without selling it. It's called securities-based lending. Say you want $600,000 for a property. A normal person sells investments, pays capital gains tax, then buys. You borrow against the portfolio at a rate ordinary people cannot access. Your investments stay in the market compounding, and you pay no tax because borrowing isn't income. This is one of the actual mechanical answers to how the rich get richer. and it is simply not offered to the levels below this one. Dinners now, real invitations, a box at a game, a wine tasting the bank hosts for select clients. And it all feels like friendship. And here's the cold arithmetic underneath the warmth. The bank earns more from managing your assets in a single year than it earned from you in your entire previous life combined. Claire's salary, the dinners, the box seats, all of it is a fraction of what your money makes them. They're not being generous, they're protecting a revenue stream. The man on hold at level 1 pays for the privilege of being ignored. You get paid in service and perks and access to stay. The machine has inverted. Net worth, $25 million. At this altitude, something happens that would sound like fiction to every level below you. The banks call you to apply, not to sell you a credit card, but to compete for the honor of holding your money. Because at 25 million in assets, you qualify for the true private banks, the ones whose names regular customers only see engraved on skyscrapers, and there are only so many people like you, and every one of those institutions wants you on their books. A few years ago, one of the biggest private banks in the world raised its minimum from $5 million to 10, and clients sitting at 7, 8, 9 million, people who were rich by any human definition, got quietly downgraded to a lower service tier, and some of them were furious. Think about what that means. There is a floor in this world where having $8 million gets you demoted. That's the floor you now live above. So what does 25 million buy? It buys a team, not a banker, a team, with your family's name on the file. A lead banker, an investment strategist, a credit specialist, an estate planner. When you call, and you rarely call because mostly you text, someone answers who already knows why you're calling. It buys access to the investments that don't have brochures, private equity funds, pre-IPO allocations, deals that are, by law, only available to investors above certain wealth thresholds. The best returning assets in the world are quite literally gated by net worth, and you're inside the gate. It buys absurdities that are somehow real. The private bank will help sell your art collection, advise on the jet purchase, structure the trust so your grandchildren, who do not exist yet, will pay less in taxes than a nurse pays this year. If your kid needs an internship, someone at the bank knows someone. This is not in any brochure either, and it doesn't need to be. And it buys the thing you can't buy at any other level, leverage over the bank itself. When Claire's successor sends you the annual fee schedule, you don't read it. Your family office emails back a lower number, and the bank says yes, because losing you to the competitor across the street is the worst thing that can happen to someone's career this quarter. Here is the full inversion, the whole ladder in one image. At level 1, you waited 55 minutes on hold to beg for $35, and the answer was no. At level 5, a managing director flies to your city to apologize for a slow wire transfer, and the dinner is on them. Same bank, same database, a different number next to your name. So what do you do with all this? First, understand what you're actually looking at. The bank is not cruel, and it is not kind. It's a machine that prices people. Every fee at the bottom and every waived fee at the top comes from the same calculation, what you're worth to them minus what you cost. The tragedy of the design is that it charges the most to the people with the least. The overdraft fees, the maintenance fees, the check cashing spreads, billions of dollars a year, harvested from the bottom of the ladder, funding the free dinners at the top. The poor are not just poorer, they are, in a very literal accounting sense, subsidizing the rich. Second, know the 2 or 3 things you can actually use. If you're at the bottom, the $35 fee is sometimes reversible. Once, if you ask calmly and mention closing the account, because even a small account has a retention value. Overdraft protection can be declined entirely, so the card just gets refused instead of costing you $35. And the moment you have any real balance, remember that loyalty is worthless. The bank prices you without sentiment, so price them the same way. And third, the real lesson, the one under all of it. Every level of that ladder was the same institution, the same logo, the same marble lobby. What changed was never the bank. It was the number. The bank will treat you exactly as well as your balance sheet insists it must, not $1 better. So stop hoping the machine will be kind. If you want to know what it's like being the first billionaire in your entire bloodline, there's a video here. Subscribe if you want to see more like this.